Hello, and welcome to Straight Talk for Burnt Out Mums. This is episode 3, and on this episode, we've got Emily, the senior interior designer. Hi, Emily. Thanks for joining us.
Hi.
Thanks ever so much for coming on. So, I wanted to get you on the show because I know you from before. You've actually been round to my house and given me some design ideas, which I did put into place.
That's
However,
so cool.
you have got a baby. Well, not a baby, he's a 1-year-old now, isn't he? And
Yeah.
you used to work in London full time, and you used to travel around a lot with your job. So tell us a bit about yourself and what you used to do before having children.
So I am a senior interior designer at an international interior design firm in London. And yeah, I used to work 5 days in London. The commuting life was tough, but I did it for 5 years straight out of uni. And then I was in a really privileged position. Just the opportunities that were provided meant that I got to travel and work on all these like amazing projects all over the globe. I'm mainly focused in Miami. That seemed to be like my speciality in
Nice.
design. So yeah, I ended up traveling to Miami 2-3 times a year. Sometimes I would, they would ask me to go for just a few days, which was like intense because of the jet lag, and the flight is like 8 hours alone. And then sometimes one time I did like 6 weeks out there, which was a really, really long time. But again, before children, before I had a house, with my husband, it was okay to leave him and leave the situation. So yeah, but now
a
it's a bit
great
different.
opportunity for you. Great opportunity
Yeah,
to
I
do
loved
something
it.
like that.
Yeah, it was
Okay,
really great.
so you had this, what I would describe as quite an amazing lifestyle. It was nice, and not many people get those sort of opportunities. But from there, you then had a baby. So tell us a little bit about family life now.
I did. So I had a baby. Yeah, it changes everything. I know people say don't, and your baby should fit into your life and stuff, but yeah, they do change everything. And I, with how maternity works and stuff like that, I generally thought I wasn't going to go back. I loved being a mum. I loved being, stay at home, ladies of leisure. We'd go out for lunch with like a good few other friends had their maternity at the same time, so we'd go for lunch together. And yeah, family time. It was just so full on. I thought, God, how did I ever have time for work?
Yeah. So many
busy.
people say this. So many people say this.
Yeah.
What I could always remember about you're on Insta, and what I always remember about your Insta stories is that your house is like obviously you're an interior designer. It's a beautiful house. It's lots of greys. It's very clean. It's very tidy. It's the pillows and the cushions are all with a dent in them. And then you were like, oh no, I won't, it won't get changed, it won't get changed. And then I remember one Instagram story of yours where you were like, why does baby's plastic toys have to be so colourful?
There is such a market for neutral toys that fit in with interior designers' houses.
Oh, it did.
And it's not Fisher Price. Yeah, I definitely thought I would be, the aesthetic mum, buying all the aesthetic toys and the aesthetic stuff, but no, I wasn't.
You'll do anything to keep them quiet, won't you, at times?
Yeah, anything to keep them quiet and happy, and you want to make sure they're learning and developing as they should, and if that means a noisy plastic colourful toy, then you're going to buy it. So yeah, my house was filled very quickly with all the stuff I really didn't want.
I did chuckle at that. I really did chuckle at that.
Terrible.
Because I did think of that first post, oh yeah, it won't change. And I thought, it will come for an easy life. I remember once with I think it was Arthur, he was driving me bonkers one day and I was just drained. I was absolutely pooped. And you buy them all these toys, and I was in the kitchen making dinner, and he went into the cupboard with the saucepans and the saucepan lids. And I was so fed up of hearing his crying and his moaning, and nothing would work, bless him. He just wanted me. It was just attached to my legs. He sat there and crashed saucepan lids. And I swear to God, it felt like an hour, but that sound was nicer at that point than the crying and the mom. And I let him do it.
Yeah,
Saucepan lids. It's great.
Yeah. Anything from the kitchen is way more appealing than
Yeah.
any other toys you could ever buy them. So
Cardboard box. Cardboard
yeah,
box is amazing. The things you can do with a cardboard box, eh? Shove some pillows in there and a cushion or a
yeah.
blanket. Sorted.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, things change then for you. So you've gone from being full-time to flying off here, there, and everywhere, different times of the year. How did you feel going into maternity leave and becoming a mum? How was that? Was it a bit daunting, or were you really excited?
Yeah. I think it's definitely a bit of both. When you get the jokes at work, they've probably got a bit of a, they're probably could claim them, take them to HR for it, but oh, you're off on your holiday, and yeah, okay, yeah. But in my office, no one has gone and had a baby and come back.
Okay.
And only one woman I knew of had a baby, and she did return, but she didn't stay for very long.
Okay.
So it was a bit nerve-wracking, and that's why I really thought I'm not coming back. I think that's the nature of the industry as well as our office. It's a really intense industry, and it's geared up to people that are, I guess, not so much single, but living that bit of a freer lifestyle, that can jet off here and there and can speak to clients at silly times in the night, which I was doing.
Especially if you've got clients that are out in Miami, they are different timings,
the time differences were just all over the place. So I genuinely thought I wasn't going to go back, so I was quite looking forward to it. Maternity side, until everyone kept saying, oh, when you're back. So there was a nice atmosphere about me going back, and I just left. I just sort of parked it and thought we'll wait, because I knew there was going to be quite a few months before I even considered going back.
And how long was it that you were off for?
So I was going to take a year, and then I did a few days here and there.
Yeah, like back to work days.
Yeah, like back to work days, and they actually asked me to go back about 10 months after I'd left, which I only agreed to because they actually agreed to a lot of the terms, which was like part-time and working from home a lot. So yeah, that's why.
And you're very lucky that they did that, because obviously I think COVID's really helped with people realising that actually working from home is okay, and that people are still efficient from working from home. I think a lot of mums struggle with that. I think a lot of mums struggle with returning back to work, potentially having to do full time, because not everyone is willing to be flexible. But for someone like yourself, how did it feel in that sort of industry coming back after 10 months? Because fashion changes very, very quickly, doesn't it? And is that the same with your line of work, or not so much?
Not so much. I'm very, very lucky in the design world that we're in. I wasn't gone too long. I was only gone 10 months, which it didn't change that much. And a lot of my projects, because of the industry, the projects we actually work on, we work from ground up. So we start working when they're literally just nothing on the ground, and we work with the construction workers. So a lot of the projects that were being built when I left are still just getting to be finished. So I came back on and picked up some of the projects that I left, which was quite nice. But yeah, coming back was a bit daunting. And I did fear that I'd sort of lost that ability. But I think
for your job, in your job,
you always worry, like, can I do that? Like, you've been out of it for so long. But yeah, I definitely felt like I just fell right back into it, which I loved, and I actually really love my job. So I think that really helps, is when you enjoy something that you really do want to go back and you pick up on it. And
if you've got a passion for something, it just comes to you, doesn't it? And if you've got an eye for stuff for your job, if you've got an eye for stuff, it makes it easier, doesn't it?
I think I was more worried about like the risk, how people would receive me as a different person. Like I said, no one in our office has children. It's an age range of predominantly women, and they range from 21 to early 30s. So it is, and I'm 28, and to go back and be the only one that has had a child there, and I've been there 7 years, is quite scary. To see how I was going to be received, and whether I would get the comments of she's not, she's a mum now, that's
she's lost it,
she can't do it. But I was really lucky that I wasn't wasn't
And
like
did you
that, which
ever
is nice.
contemplate looking for something different, or because obviously, how often do you go uptown now?
So I only go 1 day a week,
Okay.
maybe 2 if I can be bothered. It's mainly to get samples and stuff because the sample library is amazing in our office, whereas
Hmm.
I have nothing here.
Yeah.
So 1 or 2 days, but that just depends. And then I think going from 5 days to
Hmm.
1 day, that also feels really weird. And
Yeah.
people see you in the office and they're just like, oh, just you again, just
Just
here for the day,
pop it
like,
in. Yeah.
and I get so excited to go in and talk to adults and have a hot coffee, and
Yes.
like, I'm like, right, should we go for lunch?
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
husband, I've got
Yeah.
work to do. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's nice. It's really nice to go in.
I suppose it feels like
But
a bit of a break for you, doesn't it? For getting
yeah,
away from being mum all the time. I think that's one of the things that a lot of my mums suffer with, is that they become mum. And with me, I've talked about the fact that I become mum and I become carer, and I lost
mm,
Kirsty. And actually, you can still do both, and you can go in and you can be totally you for that one day. And yes, you've probably got your phone and you're checking in to make
mm,
sure little man's all right, but actually you can be you, can't you? You can be exactly who you want to be, and like you said, have a hot coffee.
yeah, it's very nice. It is very nice. You get to be a bit of a, back to being a bit of a boss bitch that can, like, do your work, and then, like, delegate and tell people, this is what I'm good at, and then go
Yeah.
home and be good at mum as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice doing both.
And going from being at home and being mum all the time, did you have any feelings about leaving home and going to work? Was there any guilt there? Was there any
Yeah.
anxiety? How did that feel to start off with? And then how long have you been back at work now, did you say?
I started at the beginning of the year, so 6 months.
Okay, so how did you feel
Yeah.
when you first started going back compared to how you feel now?
I would say I actually feel the same.
Okay.
I still feel mum guilt a lot.
Hmm. Hmm.
I get very anxious leaving him, even though he's with the best people. He's with my mum, and my husband's mum. So
Yeah.
it's not like he's even away from family. Like, he's with
No.
people I know very well.
Yeah.
Um, I just get that. I do get that mum guilt that you're perhaps not seeing everything, or that,
Hmm.
like, my dad teaches him the most terrible habits, and then he comes home and he shows me, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should have been there today. So yeah, I do think that. And then I think, I always worry that I'm not teaching him enough. That's my biggest mum guilt, I think, which is a
Hmm.
bit bizarre, that I'm not teaching him enough. So that's tough.
Hmm.
But I try and spend, obviously, the 2 days that I am with him are literally just me and him. We do lots of stuff. We go see friends and we do other bits and pieces. Um, but yeah, I would say I
Has
probably
anything
feel the
actually
same.
happened? Has anything that's actually happened that makes you think that you're not teaching him enough? Because if you're only uptown 1 day a week, and obviously you're
I
at
know.
home 2 days working,
Mm.
what is there anything that's made you feel that, or is it just one of these things like us mums are, and we just have that in our head and we build it and make it into something that's not
I
actually
think
there?
it's that I'm a really, my worst trait is, I compare myself to others. And Instagram is a great tool for connecting with people, and I use
Mm-hmm.
it for design.
Yeah.
I love to see designs and stuff. I use it for making friends, and I
Mm-hmm.
use it to share my life.
Yeah.
But I'm also, my biggest flaw is I look at other people's lives and what they're doing with their toddlers, because I follow a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people with children the same age as mine.
Yeah.
And when a toddler says, they put a video up of their toddler saying a word, and you're like, well, my toddler doesn't say that word.
Yeah.
So suddenly you're like, you get into the habit of, oh, well, she's
Okay.
a stay-at-home mum, she's obviously, she's sat there and she's taught him these
Mm-hmm.
things, and obviously I
Mm-hmm.
go to work, so I'm not that. But it is a really big flaw of mine that I compare
I don't, yeah,
myself.
I think that a lot of mums suffer with that. And I think
Mm,
that anybody that tells you they don't, they're probably fibbing.
yeah,
And even if you were at home full time, you would still do it. I was at home full time and I still compared. I still
yeah,
compared when they went to school and what they could or couldn't achieve compared to other children. So I think that we're all guilty of it, but
yeah,
we like to make life hard for ourselves. We really do. Like, there's and like you said, social media is a great platform for interacting with others. but it's terrible for seeing things that people want you to see. They're not going to show you the rough side of it. There's not many people out there that show you the sides where actually that kid's in the corner causing a tantrum, or you've been in a supermarket and they've gone mad and they've pulled everything off the shelves. They're not going to show you those things. And actually, all kids develop in such different stages at such different ranges in everything. And but you don't see that. You just pick up on that one thing and you home in on it, and then you make it something that it's not. And I think we're all guilty of that. We are all guilty of that.
Yeah, and I'm totally guilty of only sharing majority of the good bits too. I do try and share that my house is, a mess. My cushions are currently not perfectly chopped because we were all
chopped, is that the word? Sorry, that's not the right. Me shoving my hand in the air and chopping down is not the right way to do it. Okay. Sorry, they're not perfectly chopped.
No, they're not chopped. They're, there's plastic toys everywhere. But I am guilty of also only showing the best bits. And when Grayson does something amazing, I show that. And then I forget to show. He is also a toddler who is learning his own boundaries, and he's definitely learned, a few bad habits along the way.
But that's normal.
And he definitely has his meltdown.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I hate to tell you, but the older it gets, the worse they're going to become for a while. You wait, this second year is going to be wonderful. But you wouldn't change it for the world. You wouldn't change it for the world.
No.
So let's talk about interior design then. So going right off on a tangent, I was. How lots of mums get fed up with the way in which their house looks. There's lots of clutter, there's lots of mess. Is there any tips that you have got for mums around the house for storing things or keeping things a bit neater and tidier? Is there anything that you do that would be a good idea for other mums?
Gosh, I think that it's very dependent on the type of person you are in general. I am OCD, tidy, and organised. I love to be organised. So the first thing we did, when Grayson's first Christmas just gone, he was about 8 months old, and toy box straight away. Because I bought loads of these bags, and anything that came in a box that was just, the box is always massive and the toys are only like half the box. Got rid of all the boxes and put them in these bags. So, puzzles are in bags, the building blocks are in a bag. And each night me and my husband put everything back into those bags. He's just as good an OCD as me. And we put everything back into the correct bags. So he can, Grayson can in the morning can pull out his car bag, his bag of building blocks, whatever he needs. That is my top tip for keeping downstairs safe.
That is a great idea. Yeah, that is so right about the boxes.
And you know what? I actually do declutter his toys a lot because he does accumulate. They do accumulate a lot, like either from us buying them ourselves, because when you're out and about, you're like, oh, that looks really cute. I'll get that.
I get that.
And also grandparents, my mum buys him. My mum will buy him stuff all the time. She's always got something new for him. So it's always good to just get rid of stuff. They grow out of stuff as well. Like more babyish than toddlerish. So just decluttering toys very frequently.
And have you ever heard of the rotating toys as well? Put them out of the way, get them out of sight, store them somewhere, and then in a couple of months' time, swap them all over, and it's like they've got brand new toys all over.
I have heard of that, and I would love to do it, but I am also terrible at forgetting where I've put stuff. On that time that I put something up in the loft, and I'm like, it's gone.
Yeah,
it's just gone.
Disappeared.
Just rotate and get rid of, and then put it on Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that, and then
good idea.
Again.
And another thing I love about what you do is, and I have seen it on Instagram, is your meal prep. You are on point with your meal prep. Tell us a bit about your meal prep.
Again, it's the OCD in me, and the like to be organised. I guess because I think I was doing it before I went back to work, just through like ease and stuff. That was mainly like chopping just like the vegetables and fruit for the week, whereas now I actually I prep meals for him and prep snacks, because obviously he needs stuff to take the 3 days that I'm working. He's with my mum or my husband's mum. So I like to make sure that I send him with a pack up. I know that they would feed him if not, but I still don't want that it's not like it's like a liberty. Obviously, they're doing me a favour. You know, they're looking after my son for the day while I can work.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like to send him with pack up and snacks and whatever he needs. And my mum tries everything that I make, and she gives me her feedback too. So.
And tell me a little bit about your how you got him onto foods, because obviously I've spoken about this in a previous podcast, but actually me doing baby-led weaning caused a lot of issues in our house, because the elder generation didn't agree with it because it's not what they were taught. So whereas I went to classes and I learned what I should be doing and learned what sort of signs I should be looking out for and whether he's gagging or whether he's choking, whereas the grandparents didn't do that, so they weren't aware. So did you do baby-led weaning, or were you pureed? What did you do?
I was predominantly puree. Just because I could be in control of it a little bit more, I guess. So yeah, I started with purees, and then I did give him some stuff that was, you know, baby led, I guess, more, you know, the carrot sticks and things like that. But I looked at both, and I had no problem. It was literally just what I found easier, I guess, with me trying things, and then I could determine whether he actually liked it and how much he was eating and stuff like that. Which I know it isn't important and all that, but
it was right
it's nice to see them trying things and enjoying it rather than just like waving it around a little bit. But I totally on board with baby led weaning if that's what people want to do. But I also had the stigma of different generations, you know, telling you
what
how to do things. I have that in a lot of aspects. My mum and dad often say, wasn't like that in our day.
Oh,
you're here all right. You know, you read it this way, and I think that's all very well, but I'm doing it my way.
That's not the way I'm doing it.
No.
So get over it. Yeah, that's tricky, isn't it? And I think if you're not a strong-willed person, you could easily get suckered into trying to do everything to please other people. And what I try and tell my mums is actually do what's right for you. Do what's right for you and your family and your setup. And if it means a pureed food, then go with the pureed food. If it means baby-led weaning, do it. It's like sleep patterns. If you need to get your child to sleep very, very quickly, and you want them laying down and crying, then let them cry. It's got to be right for you and your family. And some people get really caught up in what others say you should be doing, and that's tricky.
It is. It's definitely a generational thing. You hear different responses, and I'm definitely strong-willed, and I know how I want to do things. But don't get me wrong, I also run to my mum when anything's wrong. So I take her opinion on board a lot. Both her and my dad, we run to them for anything. But there are some instances where I'm like, no, this is being done my way. And I stick to my way. And if you want to change it when you're looking after him, which I'm sure they probably do, tweak his nap time or whatever, or you know, I just don't want to know about it.
Just don't tell me.
He's going to sleep at night in the routine that I've set. And that's fine.
And then if he doesn't sleep, you're like, that's because they let him sleep too long at lunchtime. Or
I'm calling him. I'm saying, can you cut his nap down?
Yes, you sound just like me. I was exactly like that. And my mum said at the start with Arthur, she said, Kirst, I can't do it. I can't be letting him cry out like that, and I can't be doing baby-led weaning. So therefore, I'm not going to have him until I'm comfortable. So I was like, that's fine then. If you're not going to follow my rules, then don't do it. And she was like, okay, then I won't. It's fine. And then
I was really lucky with my mum. My mum always encouraged me to go back to work. She's always encouraged me to be a strong, independent woman. And, you know, from day dot, she encouraged that. And when I said, like, you know, money, we're going to have to think about doing this, she was like, no, you will go back to work. She was like, and I will have him. Because she had that with my grandparents. You know, they looked after us, and I do think it's a really good. I think it's beneficial for everyone, like you say. I, as a person, get to have a day in London where I'm an adult and I drink hot coffee, and also my parents get to have Grayson for a whole day just on his own, and he loves going around there. Like I just drop him at the doorstep, and I'm like unloading the car, and he's like run off shouting granddad, and I'm like, bye then, you know, he has no. He's like not bothered about me at all. So it's so nice to have both aspects.
And you're very fortunate, because there's a lot of families out there that don't have that, do they? Or they only have one lot of parents, and you're lucky that you've got two. So it probably makes your return to work a little bit easier, rather than having to look at something like a preschool, a nursery or a childminder, something like that. So that it can be tough, can't it? It can be tough, and then the cost of things as well.
I mean, I would love to put him into a nursery because I think the social aspect is great.
Yeah.
But you know, you're looking at, like, I mean, for 2 days, I think I was quoted like 700. Like, that's insane.
That is insane. Yeah, way too
Yeah,
much.
it's a lot of money. It's like another mortgage. So yeah, it's I really feel for people that haven't got the help that I have. But also I do worry that I'm going to burn my parents out. You know, they do 2 days as well, and I'm like, are you sure? You know,
are you sure? Are you sure you're all
are you
right?
sure you can handle this? So he's a handful. He doesn't stop. But no, they've been really good. So
good.
I'm very lucky.
Yes. Oh, well, thank you ever so much for coming on to chat to me. I think probably your one top tip would probably be, organisation. Am I right, as a mum, or is there something else that you would give as a top tip for the mums out there?
It would be organisation,
Yeah.
and definitely not comparing to others. Just go at your own pace and your own.
I like that one. That is one that I tell them a lot. So
yeah.
Good organisational skills. Get that meal prep done if you can, and do not compare to others. So, where can we find you, Emily? Where are you? What are you on? What platforms are you on? Where can they follow you?
My best one is probably Instagram. Life at number 6, where I try and share everything. I do forget sometimes, and I will try and share more of the ugly bits as well as the nice bits about being a parent. And I do share a lot about my interior design, and especially when I'm in London, because it's nice to be on my phone without a toddler trying to pull it away from me.
Right. Brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much for coming on. It's been lovely chatting, and hopefully we can have you on again soon.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.